Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 58 Yulk Alta, Adventurer Level 7, Bork Nudavan. The city guards finished his inspection and waved us through to Kakena. Well, calling it an inspection is a bit of an overstatement. They simply glanced at our cargo and under the carts. Somehow, this made them certain that we weren't assassins, smugglers, or whoever else they'd been ordered to detain. It occurred to me that this type of security is infrequent, Bork Kakena, and likely a response to the conflict with the Night Kingdom. I see. The reason that the guards didn't detain us or perform a more thorough inspection is likely because we aren't drow. I wonder how long the line would have been if we'd been at war with Balasar or the Empire of Kalkuti. One of the blatantly newer guards had done a double take when he saw Nick. But thankfully, a veteran guard was on duty and was able to put two and two together. Nick's presence could have been another reason we weren't more thoroughly inspected. There's a decent chance they've been told of him and what he's doing for the High Chief Ulamark. There's not a guard alive who would risk angering the High Chief.
Almost there,
Imlar said cheerily. Awesome, Nick sighed in relief. I could use a shot. The inn has me spoiled. Not sure the image to blame for that, Nash chuckled. Elmira and I smiled, remaining silent. Neither of us had been overly social since our emotionally charged conversation days prior. The discussion had ended on a happy note, and it would seem that we are afraid of souring things. The both of us are notoriously terrible at tiptoeing around emotions that we don't quite understand. There could be another reason for the awkward silences, though. I meant every word that I had said during the conversation, of course. But I had conveniently left out how hurt I felt that she hadn't confided in me. Over her years of tutelage, we had become each other's confidants. I told her my deepest, darkest secrets, and in exchange she told me many secrets that were much more embarrassing and compromising than the fact that she was a fair folk reborn as a vampire. So why did she feel the need to hide her true origin from me? Unfortunately, I could not think of any reasons that were particularly flattering for either of us. No matter, I endeavored to forgive the matter. It is difficult to cope with these feelings, but as with any other challenge, I'll manage. The cart continued through the city, while Nash and Nick debated what we should do after seeing Ulamark. We shouldn't get back on the road right away, Nash said sternly. Need to at least a week to get all the relevant research. Research? What research? Nick demanded. All we need is a day or two to replenish our supplies and find transportation. Then we go. It's not as if we're doing an expedition into the wastes or anything. Oh, and you know what to expect when we get to Kalkuti, do you? Then tell me. Aren't there tolls or security concerns that we need to bear in mind? Well, every city or village there will allow us to carry our weapons openly, or will we need to account for being unable to do so? How's the weather? If there's a chill, will we need cold weather gear, or will we be able to get some on the way? And furthermore, what fucking city are we traveling to? Lash is right, I interjected. There is plenty of research to be done on our destination and route. But we didn't wait a week to go to Balasar. That's because we had a set destination in mind and familiarity with the locale. I lived in Balasar for a while, remember? He fell silent as Nash and I shared a knowing look. His urgency was easily understood, as was his inexperience with his particular lifestyle. It doesn't matter how welcome this world makes him feel, it isn't home, and it doesn't have his love in it. My thoughts wandered to what I would do to have Rira back in my life. We hadn't even got as far as Nick and Cass. Yet, if there were a chance to bring her back to life, I'd stop at almost nothing. I know that Nash feels the same about Nima. Nick sighed as the cart pulled into the roadway behind Imlar's shop. We dragged our road-weary bodies from the cart, grabbing our belongings as we went. Imlar approached us and tossed Nash a sack of coins.
There we are, safe and sound, the gnome grinned. I couldn't have found a better guards anywhere else. If you ever need more work, let me know. It won't be me driving the carts, though.
Thanks, Nash said. Hope you enjoy being off the road from now on.
Oh, I will,
Imlar laughed, then turned to face Nick.
Words cannot express my gratitude, Nick. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. I I am able to come home to my wife and children. If it weren't for you, I'd have...
Imla trailed off, trying to maintain his composure as the emotions that he'd been suppressing swelled within him. Nick gently placed his hand on the gnome's shoulder. It's the least I can do for a friend, Nick said. Nash and I shared another knowing glance. What had seemed heartfelt, what Nick had said sounded somewhat rehearsed, almost as if he had repeatedly practiced saying it in a mirror. Imla didn't notice this and grabbed Nick's hand, shaking it.
Yeah, of course,
he said, wiping his eyes with his other hand.
I'll consider you my friend for the rest of my life. If you ever need anything, let me know how I can help.
Of course. Goodbye, Imla, Nick smiled. Stay safe.
You too, friend. Farewell, everyone.
Bye, I waved.
Try not to worry your wife anymore.
See you around, Nash said. Old Myra simply waved as Imla entered his home. The four of us took our leave and began walking towards Kakena Capital Building. As we travelled, we heard snippets of several interesting conversation. The dwarves eat the swarmfish, an elf said to his friend. It's a good thing that we had a decent haul this season, or we'd be facing a famine. No, the bastards brought their own smiths. They have no need of my services, an orcish smith explained to a customer. Have you seen how shiny their weapons are? I want a sword like that, a small child exclaimed to her friends as we passed. I guess the Empire of Kalkuchi sent reinforcements, Nash said. That's gotta be awkward. Yeah, Nick laughed. Should we see if we can travel with them? It would likely be marching, I added. I'd rather take a cart, if it's all the same to you. I'm sure there's someone with a cart that's going to want to travel along with the army. It would be a lot safer for them, Nick said. Let's face the music with High Chief Ullamark and then ask around.
Face the music?
I asked. Yeah, sorry, it's a phrase that means to accept the unfavorable consequences of your actions. How? Nash laughed. Is music that bad where you're from? No, Nick chuckled. It's one of those phrases that nobody knows where it comes from. Some people think it comes from plays where the orchestra is set up in front of the stage, so the actors have to face the music and overcome their stage fright. I've also heard that it could be referring to a time when military units had drummers and horns, so you'd need to face the music to attack your enemy.
Opposite ends of the civilization spectrum, I said. Interesting.
The conversation died down as the Capitol building came into view. One of the guards noticed us approaching and pointed a thumb at the door, informing us of our ability to pass him unhindered. We nodded our thanks at him, and did so, and were immediately greeted by Raisin.
We've been expecting you, he said. Good work on delivering the message to Regent Ugmar.
Thanks, Nash said. So, any word on how the Eye Chief is taking the news about Eye Dragon?
No,
Raisin answered with a mischievous grin.
I suppose you'll have to ask him yourself. He'll be ready for you soon.
Great, Nick whispered. Raisin escorted us to the waiting area, and we each took a seat. Nash and Nick seemed to be a lot more nervous than Elmira and I. Nash was leaning forward in his chair, arms crossed and legs bobbing up and down. Nick was also leaning forward, staring at his hands that were clasped in front of him.
They look like a couple of miscreants who were just caught,
I whispered to Elmira. Her giggle brought a smile to my face. Despite my slightly injured pride, I found myself still enjoying her company. I suppose in the end, that's what it boiled down to. I was proud of being her confidant, and proud of my ability to cope with unexpected information. Finding out that she had been hiding such a big secret from me shattered the pride that I felt as her confidant, which in turn hurt the pride I take from coping with unexpected information. I looked around the waiting area and chuckled at how inappropriate a time it was to be having this revelation.
Why are they so nervous?
Elmira asked softly.
They must be under the impression that Ullamark is going to be angry that King Nissenrath has awakened. Yes, I know. I mean, what cause would Ullamark have to be angered? Well, Nissenrath could end up being a threat to the unified chiefdoms if he decides not to honor agreements that he didn't personally sign or approve of. Plus, it's no secret that Regent Oakmar and Ullamark are close friends. So Ullamark could also be upset that his friend has been demoted. I see.
Elmira's demeanor changed slightly, causing me to chuckle again. Nervousness will change nothing in situations that are outside of one's control. What happens will happen regardless of whether or not one worries about it. I was about to tell her as much when the doors opened and Raisin entered.
They're ready for you, he said.
Nash and Nick practically leapt from their seats, but I took a second to adjust my robes before rising.
Then I realized something and looked at Raisin quizzically. They? I asked.
End of chapter. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, Jon Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.